So I'm sure you heard one of these famous quotes that says, "Your identity is your most valuable possession. Protect it." It's from the movie Incredibles, and I think it's the one of the most important things that we need to understand as sons of God. You're a son. You're a son of God, and that's your identity. It doesn't change. You were made a son of God. God made you. That's who you are. It cannot change. It will not change. But your identity and knowing your identity changes everything. It changes the way you live. Once we come to know who we are, once we come to know that we are sons of God and we see ourselves as sons of God, we see ourselves as who we are, as who God made us to be, it changes the way we live. It changes our lifestyle, the way we do things. It just changes everything. And in Genesis chapter 1 and verse 26 and 27, it talks about how God said, "Let us make man in our image and in our likeness." We are made exactly as Him. We are made exactly as our Father is. We are His offspring. Jesus, when He walked on the earth, He said, "I do what I see my Father do." That's it. We are, just as Jesus is the firstborn among many brethren, we are the brethren. It says in 1 John chapter 4 and verse 17, we are exactly as He is. So we do exactly what we see our Father do. That's what we are created to be. The world will always keep telling you differently. It will always keep trying to conform you into some image that it has created for itself. But you are a son of God. You were always a son of God. It says so in Hebrews chapter 2 and verse 10. God sent Jesus to bring many sons into glory. We were always sons. We were just reconciled to glory by what Jesus did on the cross. We lost our way. Like it says in the story of the prodigal son, there were two sons. One went astray. One was always at home. He didn't realize who he was. He always thought he had to earn things. He always thought he had to earn his sonship. But he was always a son. The one who took his inheritance and took off, he came back and he didn't lose anything. He got everything back because he was a son. We are always sons. We were always sons. We are sons and we will always be sons. Your identity is the most precious thing you have. Your identity is not something that you derive from what you do. It's not that because you're a pastor, it's who you are. No, you're a son and you're doing something as a pastor. You're ministering as a pastor. If you are an evangelist, you're a son who's ministering as an evangelist. What you do does not make you who you are. What you do is a product, it's a byproduct, it's a result of who you are. So your evangelism, your pastoral ministry, your apostolic ministry, or whatever you're doing in this world is a product. It's like because you're a son, you'll be able to more effectively do what you're supposed to do, what you're called to do in this world because you know your identity. The world has derived its identity from its performance and from its doing and it's from its strive and struggling and from the curse. Even Jesus' identity was questioned after he was taken into the wilderness and he fasted for 40 days. At the end of 40 days, his sonship was questioned, and the enemy came and tried to put doubts in his mind, saying, "If you are the Son of God, do this." But Jesus never fell for that. He never fell for that for the test of his sonship or for the test of his identity. He knew he was a son. He could have turned the stones into bread. I mean, he was Jesus and he knew who he was. Just before he went into the wilderness, he heard a booming voice from heaven. His father said, "You are my beloved son. I'm very well pleased with you." He knew who he was. He didn't need to prove himself to anyone or he didn't need to prove himself to the enemy that he was the Son of God. In himself, he was established that he was the Son of God. That's who you and I are. We are sons of God. When we establish our relationship with our Father in heaven, we know that we are sons. And the more time we spend with the Father, the more we will be established and assured of that. It is so vital for us to know our identity because our identity establishes us in this world. Jesus never conformed himself to this world. He never conformed himself to the ideologies of man. He never conformed himself to what man's ways were or what man thought he should do. Society will always tell you to do something and to do things a particular way. It will always try to tell you that this is the way things are done. But as a son of God, you never have to conform to the way society or the world tells you to do things. I love what it says in Galatians. It says, if you live in the Spirit, walk in the Spirit also. When Jesus died on the cross, he destroyed every fleshly obstacle that would take away our inheritance, that would destroy our identity, that would stop us from being who we are. It says that the veil was torn. The veil was his flesh. The veil was the flesh dictating our identity. But our identity is spirit. Our Father's spirit, we are spirit. And who we are in the spirit is what the flesh should conform to. It's what the body should conform to. It's what the world should conform to rather than the other way around. Creation is waiting for the manifestation, for the revealing, for sons of God to start walking in their identity as sons of God. Your identity is not derived from what you do. See, most Christians do what they do because of who they think they are. But imagine if Christians realized who they really are. Imagine if Christians arose to their sonship, to their identity as sons. That is exactly what creation is waiting for. Because God designed creation to be governed by sons of God. That was the original design. God created man, rule the earth, subdue it. We were called to rule the earth and the cosmos. We were called to govern. We were called to establish a government over here. And that is exactly what God did by sending Jesus. It says of his government and of his reign and of his peace, there will be no end. And we are of the government of Jesus. We are of the government of heaven, enforcing and establishing peace and love over all creation. Creation has been waiting for this. Hallelujah. So this short message is basically a part of the Know Your Identity series. Keep looking out for more short messages like this that'll be coming soon. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.